Oh, hey, we are live. What's happened, wrestling fans? I wasn't caught off that guard. What does that even mean?
The first, like 2 seconds into the new season, and he's already had a blunder. Did not take long.
We'll put that on the botches with everything else this year.
Hey, wrestling fans! It's the Two Bros Wrestling Show back on the air. And Doug, you know how the holidays, they're over, and that's when the credit on your CM Punk gift card we all got for Christmas is down to the end. That means it's time for us to get back to work.
I don't even know what any of that means, but okay, let's do this.
It was a reference to the fact that Dax Harwood mentioned that CM Punk sent all the boys
Oh, that's
Christmas
right. That's
Starbucks
right.
gift cards. Apparently, is the CM Punk Christmas gift of choice. But how is everyone? Did you have a good Christmas and a good New Year, Doug?
I got my CM Punk gift cards and my special gift cards to that muffin place and the canned water. So I'm doing pretty good, man.
Oh, well, we hope everyone is doing as good and had as good a holiday, but it is time for a new season and a new year of the Two Bros Wrestling Show. This is always my favorite show of the year, and that is when we take a look back and then also hand out some of awards. If it is your first time joining us on the Two Bros Award Show, I guess tonight is the Two Bros
It is the
Wrestling
two
Award
bros.
Show. If you're
Yes.
watching for the awards, and you're not a regular follower, we hope that we can change that you enjoy yourself tonight and you come back Sunday night next week at 8 o'clock and join us live when we're back to our normal format. Because normally, Doug, we do a new segment here at the beginning. We end our show talking about the week and review, basically match of the week, all that stuff. We're throwing that out for
It
tonight
is
because it
out.
is a special show. Except there's an elephant in the room that we just have to address, and because of that, we're
What?
going to just do
What?
a few headlines. Doug, he's back. Seriously, he's back. Uh, not six
Un-
months after he's gone, he's back.
Unbelievable. We knew this old man was not going to let go of his company, but well, it is his company and he does have controlling shares in it. So at the end of the day, if he wanted to come back, he was going to come back.
We all were probably a little naive to think that he was going to go away so quietly into that good
Right?
night. We got all
Yes.
excited about the creative direction and how good things were going. We just kind of took our eye off the ball, and boom, Vince is back.
And now he's
Seriously,
back.
folks, we got more on this. We'll go in depth. In fact, we've changed our whole calendar to make sure that next week we dedicate the whole show to this topic. But the Wall Street Journal basically let us know on Thursday of Vince's intentions, and he wasted no time. On Friday, he voted himself back in, brought a couple of friends with him, said that he's not going to change anything. We'll talk about all of that next week. And Doug, we have a few other folks back too. Sasha Banks is back.
Uh, uh,
Um,
Mercedes Monet.
Mercedes Monet is back and showing up at the most recent Wrestle Kingdom. Charlotte Flair is back.
Woo!
Didn't take her any time to come back and win the women's SmackDown Women's Championship from Ronda Rousey. And then the only other thing I wanted to make sure we mentioned, and it's not a welcome back, it's a departing, but we would be remiss if we didn't say condolences to the family and friends and fans of Don West.
Yes.
If you are a wrestling fan of more than 5-10 years if you go back more than the 5 or 10 years to the Wild West days, really, of Impact Wrestling, back when you think about that roster that they had, that he got to call the matches for. Don was an announcer at Impact. Worked with Mike Tenay, got to call all those great Kurt Angle and Samoa Joe matches, and some of the best of AJ Styles, and truly felt like a fan. I mean, the dude was like charismatic to the extreme, excitable to the extreme. So
And
we, yeah,
let's just pause for a moment and talk about the salesmanship that this dude had.
yes, absolutely.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable
Um,
salesman.
Unbelievable salesman, and really integral to the Impact Wrestling being able to stick around when most folks thought it would not, and a lot of that had to do with the passion and salesmanship of one Don West. Definitely going to be missed. Thank you for everything, Don. Again, condolences. And with that sour note, Doug, we'll make a awkward transition and let's talk about let's get on to the show. We're
Let's
here
do it.
tonight.
The show must go on.
It goes on, and we're going to start talking about the biggest stories from 2022. Before we start handing out the hardware, we're going to talk the biggest stories of 2022. Fans, during the whole show tonight, please drop in the comments. Let us know what you think of our choices. Doug, we're talking about the top 3 stories from 2022. I will cede the floor to you and let you go first.
So I think, I mean, we led earlier with it, the top story, the story of wrestling in 2022. And I would almost say the decade, but my goodness, Vince flipped that on its ear just like that. So, but Vince McMahon retiring from WWE in 2022, seemingly giving over control of his company to the board of directors and handing the reins back to his daughter and son-in-law. Absolutely, the biggest story, fueled by scandal and what not FCC. What is the financial feds? That's not the FCC. Anyway, the financial feds, I'll call them.
The FTR. The FTR
Yes.
investigator.
The FTR. The FTR investigation. Top guys out. Lots of scandal there. Lots of, we really thought Vince was gone. Vince walked away from the company that we thought we would have to pry from him his cold dead hands. Well, we're probably still going to have to do that. Is either that or a whole bunch of Saudi oil money. It looks like may be able to what prized the company from him. But either way, Vince leaving WWE has to be the top story of 2022.
So you know me and how I like to do a countdown. So I'm giving you my number 3 first.
Not me, man. I go straight for the money. Straight for the money. I mean, I could talk about CM Punk and all out. And I could also say, my top 3, Banks and Naomi walking out. I think these are 3 pivotal stories of this year that, are all going to roll into 2023. But, Vince, Sasha and Naomi walking out, and the fallout from Brawl Out and that media scrum have to be the top 3 stories. But Vince takes the gold here without a doubt in my notes anyway.
Look at you managing a segue there to wrap all 3 into one statement. That is a professional at work. Don West would be proud of that.
I learned at the feet of the master.
Oh man, top stories for me. Tony Khan purchasing Ring of Honor, and who would have thought that the eccentric AEW billionaire purchasing a historic and influential wrestling company that this time last year, some of us wondered was just dead in the water. Who would have thought that would be only the 3rd biggest story, or maybe in Doug's case might be the 4th biggest story. But I mean, how far down the radar does a story that big have to fall? What does that say about the rest of this crazy 2022 year we just finished? Number 2, no doubt about it, the Brawl Out at All Out. Man bites dog, dog bites man. Whatever. I mean, we had the craziness, the fallout of that, the fall from grace of one of wrestling's up until then more popular figures. Definitely my number 2 on that, Doug. We're in lockstep. And then on number 1, I mean, I don't think you'd even have to be a wrestling fan to pick what the top story of professional wrestling was. That's how generationally changing the whole idea of a scandal around Vince McMahon, his ouster, and the rise of Triple H and Stephanie, how big that story was. And we're not a few days in 2023 that we may have the sequel that is that's probably, I can't imagine there's going to be a bigger story in 2023, folks, than what we just experienced in this first week, and Vince mounting his comeback, which, you had to know in the back of our minds somewhere that he was just plotting this whole time. And it definitely comes across like a plot to see the evil villain return in the way that he did.
It does. It's like some sort of like HBO like series or something where the patriarch of the family is ousted in shame, but plots his revenge and then comes back and strikes back. I mean, we're in the middle act of like some bizarre 3-act insanity. I Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
I mean,
Unbelievable for
res-
sure.
wrestling is crazy.
But it all wasn't just craziness. There was some good that happened in 2022, and that is what we're here mainly to focus on is that good. So before we start handing out awards, Doug, I wanted to throw this up here for you and the folks at home. Let's take a look back and see our picks from this time last year.
Yeah. Look at that. Graphics. I love it.
Graphics on the two bros. These were our 2021 picks, Doug. So I'm just curious. You see there with female and male performer and even pretty close on the match. We were kind of in lockstep. Some of these picks haven't aged particularly well. But for the most part, I thought we both were pretty spot on with these. Honestly, before we get into 2022, I'm seeing some chances maybe for some repeats, some repeat winners here. A few of these folks. But again, fans, as we go through our a show tonight, definitely let us know who your picks are, and will any of these repeat? And will Doug and I be in agreement, or will we fight a whole bunch? That could happen too.
That could happen. It's kind of hard to get a headlock digitally, but we'll do it. We'll pull it off if we need to. We'll lock up. We don't care.
We got trophies.
Oh my goodness, we have trophies.
We got trophies.
I didn't know trophies were in the budget this year.
Just don't look what it says on the front. But yes, we got trophies.
I love it. Trophies.
We always, if this is the first time you've watched, this is the third year we've done this, fans, and we do runner-up, and then we go to our winner. Doug, announcer of the year is the first category. I will let you go first. Give me your runner-up.
So, I always have to not give a nod to AEW in multiple categories, and I'm going to be doing that this year. Excalibur, I think, is one of the most solid things about AEW. His knowledge, his mic work, the way he pulls his other fellas at the table out of the messes they walk themselves into sometimes and just kind of helps them along. For a runner-up, I've got to give it to Excalibur this year.
So for my runner-up, something I never thought I would say, my announcer of the year runner-up is Michael Cole.
Interesting.
I never was a huge coal miner, as it were, but honestly, Michael Cole's long been the person you loved to hate. He represented the voice of the establishment when a lot of fans were turning against that establishment. And so fairly or unfairly, I think Michael oftentimes took the heat for that. And the sheer fact that he was the heir apparent to Jim Ross, the beloved Jim Ross, one of the best to ever do it. And when you're not JR and you're the voice of the establishment as the establishment was becoming stale, it's easy to hate on Michael Cole. But you talk about a man who had the shackles taken off this year when Vince wasn't hollering in his headset. Suddenly, the guy who probably got into this because he loved wrestling, and that guy came back. And actually, especially when teamed with Wade Barrett, who has been particularly strong, I think, as color commentator, they've really elevated WWE announcing. For the first time in a while, I feel that way about WWE. So Michael Cole, keep up the good work. Hopefully the voice in your head continues to be a non-Vince McMahon voice.
It's interesting that Cole is your runner-up.
We did this a lot too. I only put on that graphic the winners, but a lot of times when we didn't have the runner-up was the other person's winner. Doug, who is your announcer of the year?
So let me just say, for everything you just said about Cole, that is why I am nodding to Cole as my announcer of the year. Last year I went with JR for more nostalgia reasons. Cole, again, I've never been a coal miner, but like you say, those shackles came off, and wow. I mean, wow. I've never really been a big fan of Corey Graves either, but Cole and Graves together there, especially right after McMahon retired, but Cole especially, really once the shackles came off, man. I mean, come on. You just said everything I needed to say about why he's my number one.
And that's might be why we have a shorter than normal show tonight. Normally, this show, the award show, might run a little long. But Doug, my announcer of the year, for all the reasons you said, for runner up, no joke, no joke. And fans, we don't talk in advance. We don't want to know what the other one's going to say, so we can give a natural reaction. But sometimes great minds think alike. There's not a lot I can say that you didn't say, Doug, about Excalibur and just how good he is. As far as wrestling knowledge goes, there's no one on the mic better than Excalibur.
Absolutely.
And you are so right to call out the fact that sometimes, a slightly older now JR or, a slightly, buddy, Tony Schiavone, he can pull them back in. Like they can make a pratfall and without overselling it, he gets them back in the middle of the road and out of the ditch. Like he's a master at that. And it should be noted too, with all of as good as he is on air, when you're watching Dark or Dark Elevation and you're watching those announced teams that Excalibur is not a part of,
yes,
it's Excalibur in their headset. Calling the matches, telling them the names of the moves, something he does better than anybody else.
Absolutely.
And definitely the best, the most knowledgeable announcer on the wrestling planet today. So that is why Excalibur is my announcer of the year.
Excellent. I love.
Let's see how many times we end up doing that tonight.
Let's just see.
So, Doug, I'm going to move on to breakout performer, and since I gave the floor to you first last time, I'm going to start with my runner up because, and I will say this: breakout. We define breakout not necessarily as rookie of the year because it's hard to say who is a rookie. Is it your first year? Did you come off the independents? To me, breakout is you could be rookie, you could be new, you could be young in the business, or you could have just had a next level year where you went from something you weren't to what you have become. My runner-up of the year is the Acclaimed.
Okay.
Everybody loves the Acclaim, right? I mean, who else in the world could get over Scissor Me Daddy Ass? If you would have told me at the beginning of 2022 that would get over in front of a huge crowd. And the thing I love about the Acclaim, not just the fact that they got the push they got because of just how over they got themselves. This is one of the few success stories that you can point to from the YouTube series that Tony Khan set up. His version of a developmental system was taking lots of young talent and independent talent and working them on his YouTube shows, which he has typically 2.5 to 3 hours worth every single week. Outside of like maybe a Hobbs, I can't think of anything else, anybody else that actually rose from the ranks of that show to and the Acclaim even outdone him, honestly, because they were literally jobbers on Dark when the first time I saw them, and now they're the tag team champions. So kudos to the Acclaimed.
Yeah, I can't disagree with the Acclaim being on the list. They didn't make my they didn't make my runner-up or my number one, but I cannot disagree with that.
It's good. It's good. We'll have some differences. That's awesome.
Now, my runner-up is also from AEW. And I've got to say, she's not necessarily a rookie, but I'm really loving her. I just love that infectious energy that she brings to the ring and to her performances. And when she comes to the ring, when she leaves the ring, when she's in the ring, I'm just really, really, calling a year. And maybe this is more of a rookie of the year, even though, she I can't say she had a spectacular year, but she did debut in AEW this year. And the energy that Willow Nightingale brings to everything that she does, I just can't get enough of this.
I love her. I love her. I loved her in Ring of Honor. She was there at the very tail end when Ring of Honor was trying to establish a women's division. There's nothing that you said that I could at all disagree with. Willow is, I think she's tabbed for bigger things.
Yeah,
for sure. On the way. My overall breakout performer of the year, and far from a rookie. But honestly, whose stock rose higher this year than Sami Zayn? Yeah, of course. I mean, but this is almost like the Vince as like Vince's fall is the story of the year. Like, how could this not be the breakout performer of the year?
Absolutely, because I mean, yeah, Sami. Sami is in a position where he should not be. Not that he does not have the talent to be in this position. His interaction with the bloodline was not supposed to be what it has become at all, but he just owned it, ran with it, and you and I know what Sami's capable of. I think a lot of like the older marks that watch this, all the way back to El Generico fans know what Sami's capable of. Saw him as an amazing babyface in NXT. Expected just like John Cena level babyface action once he hit the main roster. Didn't quite happen. I still expect that John Cena level babyfaceness once he unthrones the tribal chief, in my fantasy booking for 2023. But I mean, come on, man. He's got me feeling Usi at least twice a week now.
Let's not forget, as recently as this past year's WrestleMania, Sami was wrestling one of the guys from Jackass. Like that's that's
exactly
how quickly this happened for him. Doug, you had become, prior to that, you'd become very fond of saying that Sami had found his level, and while it wasn't what you wanted for him, there he was. I mean,
there he was, man.
Until Johnny Knoxville, he wasn't even in the ring very much. He was always the backstage segment, the interview guy, there's a conspiracy against me guy. He had that going on, and he was great at it.
He had like Santino vibes. He was the Santino Morello of the modern age there for a while.
But you would say this is not what you wanted for him.
Not at all.
He was.
But here, this is where Sami is now is what I want for Sami, what I expect for Sami.
He's now main event and the most popular performer in the world's largest wrestling company. Sami Zayn, El Generico. I mean, if you think back, and again, far from a rookie, but think back, even if you want to say NXT, the time he had there, right, outside of maybe that, but you go back Ring of Honor and Independence before that, like you can argue that at no point in his career with any wrestling company was he ever more than upper mid card. Mm-hmm. He was never the main event. I mean, when he and Steen were stealing the show at Ring of Honor, it was usually under Bryan Danielson or, Chris Daniels or some Samoa Joe. I mean, there was always the main event guys. And then if you were lucky, there was Sami Zayn. But oftentimes he was even down a little farther on the card than that. So to see him in the world's largest wrestling company at this stage of his career as the man, as someone who legitimately has to be considered possibly part of a WrestleMania main event, it's kind of crazy to think about. You would have never have guessed that even this time last year.
Yeah, I kudos to Sami. He's really dug himself out of what I felt was a hole for him. But, he just plays the role so well. This, I think, just looking at Sami, you can see now over the past year, anything you give Sami, he's going to take it. He's going to run with it. He's going to make it as his own, and he's going to excel with it. He's going to make it great, whatever he's given.
If anyone out there has not had an opportunity to watch the Broken Skull sessions with Stone Cold is an excellent interviewer. In the Sami Zayn episode, he is heaping praise on that Johnny Knoxville match for the fact of just how entertaining it was. And this is Stone Cold, who, you know, is just black tights and black knee pads. Like, he was not a frills
Right.
kind of wrestler until the latter part of his career, when he allowed some comedy to creep in. But for him to appreciate the greatness of what Sammy was doing on that, to Doug's point, whatever you gave him, and this was Stone Cold's point too, that, you know, whether it was the conspiracy, the Michael Moore conspiracy guy with his camera trying to prove his dog. I mean, whatever you give him, he excels at, and he's being rewarded for it. So, man, and it couldn't happen to a better performer too. Just so happens the man can go when he gets in the ring.
Yeah, that always helps. Absolutely.
All right, Doug. We'll see if we're in lock on this. I'll let you go runner up first. Let's give one of these to the comeback performer of the year.
You know what? I really had a hard time, nailing down a comeback performer of the year. There's been so much that's happened. If Vince McMahon had his Wall Street Journal story run in 2022, I would have called Vince McMahon part of his comeback of the year.
Doug tipping off his choice for next year's award.
Yeah, so here's my early predictions for next year. Look for Vince in at least the runner up position. But looking at everybody who's came and went, I had a very hard time nailing anything down. So I just went with one here. No runner up.
Okay.
And I just want to give a shout out and acknowledge, and this is actually tied to Vince, honestly, but I am saying that WWE creative team has had a comeback, and it is definitely the comeback of the year, top tier comeback of the year, because I think once Vince left creative, all those things that we wanted, and honestly, I think a lot of wrestlers, not just wrestling fans, but wrestlers wanted, started to happen. Wrestling got better in the WWE. I mean, you went from the bloodline being the sole good thing in WWE to so many good things happening and so many people wanting to come back to the company. AEW, these folks who came to AEW wanting to jump back over now that Triple H was in charge. So maybe Triple H should have the comeback of the year. I don't know, but I'm calling it for the WWE's creative team.
So I like how you're talking WWE creative in a very creative answer. I like that answer. That's a very good that's a very good choice for comeback performer. So you got a 2-1 there. I'm going to give you both of mine now. Then my runner up, Saraya. I know she's not done a lot yet, but just what she overcome in order to get back in the ring, and what was a genuine surprise for fans. Think Edge, think Bryan Danielson, think those male wrestlers who had overcome what were thought at the time to be career-ending injuries. 5 years out of the ring is nothing to sneeze at when you're that young and with a serious injury she had. To even come back to be in the position she's in now, it garnered her my runner-up. But my overall comeback performer of the year, it's not like he was down and out, but boy, it fits the definition, a literal definition of a comeback. But Cody Rhodes returning to the company he had been so desperate to be free of back in the day, had to be one of the biggest surprises in wrestling, because here was basically a pillar, a co-founder, if you will, of the competition, and extremely popular. I mean, he was the AEW version of what Triple H is to NXT. Like, the fans would give him that praise of thank you for bringing us this product. And he up and leaves Tony Khan in a spat, and not just comes back. It would be easy to come back, I guess, once Vince was gone, if Vince was the problem. He came back when Vince was still in charge first time.
Right. Exactly. The first time.
But I mean, and then to go on and steal the show at WrestleMania right out the gate, and not just by the surprise of walking out that entrance, but they stole the show when they got to the ring as well. and then had the memorable
Mhm.
Hell in the Cell match, and just he had quite a year before, unfortunately, he went down to injury. But I think we're about to see
Oh, we're
very
about to see.
shortly the
Yeah, I think now Cody also Cody and Vince because I'm sure Cody will be back at Royal Rumble, totally
yeah.
showing my hand again. But
Hey, you very well may be looking at my comeback performer of 2022 and in contention for 2023, depending on where his year goes from here. But always good to see Cody Rhodes back in any form or fashion, and look forward to having him back in the ring again. Again, my comeback performer of the year this year. Now we get to throw some shade, Doug. Let's talk most misused or underused.
oh my goodness. Okay, this one was hard for me. You want to
I'm going to say this one might be hard for the number of options.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it feels like there's more AEW talent that could be pulled into this pool here. You want to go first? You want me to go first? Who's going first here? What's going on?
Who do you want to go first here? If you got two choices for this one, I do as well.
Okay, here let me do a runner up because I do have a runner up for this one, and I said there's a lot that could be pulled from the AEW pool, but I do want to touch on this. Mentioned her earlier, but this one is a tag team. That Sasha and Naomi for my runners up because they were just being wasted in some sort of, I don't know, female tag team wasteland in WWE. Kudos for them for knowing their worth and walking out, which I don't think anybody else on either one of our lists did that. Now we see the triumphant return of her, Mercedes Moné, formerly Sasha Banks, and New Japan. I got a feeling we'll probably see Naomi back, probably at Royal Rumble, but which that's good because I would love to see her involved with the bloodline and take her place there and be acknowledged as part of that.
You've been calling for that for months and months.
I have. I'm hoping somebody's listening to me. But for a runner up for that, Sasha and Naomi, underutilized talent in 2022.
So for me, most misused or underused runner up, I'm going AEW on this one. And I think I've called this out on the show before because, and it might be just because I think so much of him as a performer. But when Andrade was cut loose from WWE and landed himself in AEW, I thought, well, good. Tony will know what to do with him. And then I can't tell you the surprise on my end when he didn't. Andrade has not risen above the level that arguably you could say he's at the same level and misuse that he was in WWE before he was let go. So Andrade, the NXT Black and Gold booked by Triple H version of Andrade was absolutely next level world champion material in NXT for a reason and looked like he might be destined for that at whatever roster he landed on. Heck, he is Mr. Charlotte Flair. Like you think that would even play in his favor, right?
Right.
It did not. And it did not help in AEW either, where he's primarily been, the mouthpiece of some loose faction that disappears for long periods of time and changes members and
ownership
involved. Shabo's involved at one point.
Matt Hardy.
It's just his booking has been a mess,
terrible.
And it's just terrible. It really is terrible. So that's my runner-up. Doug, who beats that?
God's favorite champion beats that, Kevin. God's favorite champion beats that. How can you have the talent that is Miro or Rusev, which you just let go? You have him in these ridiculous like divorce angles or whatever in WWE. He comes over to AEW. You're like, all right, here we go. That got off to a really bad start. That whole he wasn't even God's favorite champion then. I don't know. He was like some gamer, the best man. That's what he was. Yeah. He was the best. Yeah. The best man. Okay, haha, funny. That plays off of the ridiculousness ridiculous creative he just survived and came from. But then you get him into this Redeemer, this God's favorite champion role. This is a role for Miro. The man could go. Sure, he has a few injuries, but he's good to go. And he's what, just hanging out? Come on. How do you not put Miro on TV every week, just crushing somebody?
And it'd be one thing if you could just say that, oh, he can go in the ring. But, if you wanted to say, like a Sami Zayn, for example, we were talking about earlier, who can go in the ring. If someone wanted to say, yeah, but he doesn't look like a main event or something, like, I don't buy that argument.
No.
But I understand when people say stuff like that, like the mindset of what we've been trained as for what a wrestler looks like.
Sure.
Look at Miro. He looks like the guy who could rip your head off. Like, he looks the part, in addition to be able to do it in the ring. And then what maybe at one point wasn't the strongest part of his game, God's greatest champ. I mean, on the mic now, the dude is incredible. Both menacing and deceptively funny at the same time, oftentimes in the same promo.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm with you on that. I mean, I can't argue with that choice. It wasn't my choice, but I can't argue with that choice because my choice was partially your runner-up. So.
Okay.
And I hate to separate Naomi because I know she was part of the same walkout, and I think she's incredibly talented, and 100% agree with you. She needs to be part of the Bloodline storyline. But Sasha Banks is a generational talent. I mean, she is one of the pillars of the women's revolution that has allowed us to have the era of women's wrestling, this golden age we're in now. And she's never, ever, outside of that window of NXT, really been given that due for prolonged periods of time. I don't know why Vince McMahon was never high on Sasha Banks, but even when she was on top, she never had that moment for long. She would have the rug jerked out from underneath her time and time and time again until she just finally said enough, and along with Naomi walked out. And because that women's tag division was such a mess, the fact that she felt so committed to the tag team division and those championships that they walked out at a time that they weren't going to use them as a tag team, but they instead wanted to work them into a singles storyline for the women's championship. And they still felt so strongly like, listen, no, we're the tag team champions. If we're going to do this, let us build this division and make it into something.
Yes.
And to your point, know their worth and walk out the door, and WWE has been poorer for it. And I do believe that she's going to make some big money as Mercedes Moné on a brief run with New Japan. It is not a long-term contract, but if she does not end up in AEW, this is a chance for Tony to capitalize on Vince, not just take over something that Vince didn't know what to do with. This is something that Vince knew what to do with and just didn't.
Yeah, I will be shocked if we do not see a Mercedes Moné as All Elite very, very soon. I will be shocked if she is not Soraya's tag team partner, or well, I have my own theories about about Sheeta going rogue, doing a heel turn, taking out Tony Storm, Saraya being left alone. This is my fantasy booking, and then the boss's music is going to hit. She's not the boss now, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, you can bank on.
Bank on it. Absolutely.
I like that play.
And hopefully that finisher will be a little bit more polished than it was at the Wrestle Kingdom, because I'm not quite sure what it's supposed to be.
She's been out of the ring a long time, and it was a big crowd, and I'm sure the nerves were there, but there's no doubt about what Sasha can be as a performer, both on the mic and in the ring. And she's only 30 years old. It seems like she's been around forever. And that's because she was so young when we all fell in love with her back in the NXT days. She needs to be that again. And not that she didn't have her moments on the main roster. It's just that, again, Vince and her obviously didn't jive. And there were reports that Vince did not see the same qualities in her that he saw in Becky and in
Mhm.
Charlotte.
Charlotte, yeah.
And and those ladies are top tier, no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
She is exactly on their level though, and why he's thought she was one notch below them boggles the mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yes, definitely misused, but might be a good choice to battle Vince and Cody for comeback of the year in 2023.
Yes, so
Right?
true. So true.
Doug, I only have one of these, so we're going to have to like split this in half for our next category. Because
Well, they are teams, so they should share. I mean,
that's true. They should share. Tag team of the year. We love tag team wrestling
love
here on the
tag
Two Bros
teams.
Wrestling Show. So we definitely need to stipulate that going into this award is that here we love tag team wrestling. This one was hard too, Doug.
This one was hard too, but I love tag teams. I love stables. I love it when the tag team is in a stable. And that's a beautiful segue into my runners up. I believe if you bring back up the demographic, that's not true. the graphic, not the demographic. But the Usos, I went against AEW last year and called the Usos as the tag team of the year. Did I not? Yes, the Usos,
Yes.
which you went with Bucks, and
Yeah.
I went against the AEW fanboy that I am. Went against the obvious choice for me, which would have been the Bucks, and went with the Usos. This year, I'm going with the Usos as the runner-up because the Usos have had an amazing year. The Bloodline. It was once upon the best thing because it was the only good thing in not AEW, in WWE. Now there's a lot of good stuff going on, but they are still in the best thing in WWE. They're a great tag team. They've been a great tag team since literally day one to steal them from them. Because you and I can both still call out when they showed up with Tamina doing those frog splashes from both sides. Amazing stuff from their debut to today. So for that, I'm giving them the runner up.
So my runner up as a team that I actually called out to earlier, and that is the Acclaim.
All right, cool.
No team's star rose faster or higher than the Acclaimed, and I would argue that no team and or single male or female performer rose faster or higher than what the Acclaimed did. And for that, I actually struggled to not have them as my team of the year, but they are not my team of the year. They are my runner-up.
It's a good runner-up, man. It's a good runner. And weren't both of these guys like in their pre-AEW life? Weren't they both singles wrestlers? They never really been tag team wrestlers. But you'd think that they came up together like like brothers, like the Bucks or the Hardys, because or the Usos.
They have that look of a team that you just see them together and you go, that's a team.
Yeah. I mean, these are two singles wrestlers, I guess, that Tony put together, and good call, Tony. Good call, Tony.
Yep. Doug, how about who bested the Usos in your mind?
Top guys, Kevin. Top guys. How could you not? How can you not recognize a team not only that just has two sets of belts as like some unified champions, but has like at one point this year had every belt for every company on the planet, it seemed like. I mean, FTR was dripping with gold this year, and it's not because of any politics or any ridiculous nonsense like that. These guys are that good. They are top guys. Truly top guys.
Not only I pulled up our 2021 picks, but just in case I needed to reference it, I wrote out like our 2020 picks as well, so that I would see if we had anybody two of the last 3 years or anything like that.
Okay.
And to my surprise, FTR was like just a runner up as like the best they ever did on any of our votes for this show now 2 years in the running, and I couldn't believe it, to be honest. When I saw that, I thought surely one of us, because if you think runner up, okay, is one thing, but we each have a pick for our tag team of the year, and we've done this twice already. So that's 4 possible chances for them, and no one had ever picked FTR when they have clearly been arguably the best tag team for multiple those years. Not that the Usos, the Bucks last year, like they definitely earned it. Those are great teams too. But how could we go this long without?
Right.
So we're in agreement on this, man. There's no doubt about it, because you're talking about the AEW tag team champions, the Ring of Honor tag team champions, the IWGP tag team champions, the New Japan, the AAA champions. And it'd be one thing if you find yourself in a position that you're over and the companies give you these titles. That, of course, it's kayfabe.
That's the thing. These guys, it's not like they're acclaimed over. I mean, clearly they're over, but they're not VPs like the Bucks. They're not family like the Usos. Involved in some huge storyline. These guys have proven why they are so good. These guys, like us, love tag team wrestling.
And I will say that if you want to know that it goes beyond just being scripted to hold these titles, if you just go look at Meltzer's star ratings for like the year of 2022, what the best matches were, how many times these two pop up, whether they're wrestling in the Tokyo Dome or on Dynamite or in Mexico City, like whatever company they were in, they were having the best matches in that company at the same time that they were these scripted champions. So beyond just what they are slated for on the script, these guys, once the bell rings, were proving it in the ring that they were the best tag team wrestlers on the planet Earth.
Yes, absolutely. Top guys. Absolutely.
FTR all the way here too, man. Same for me. So one more we're in agreement on. Last year, Doug, we both were in agreement on this next category. So we'll see how we do this time, if that's the same. You want to go runner up? I can't remember if you went first last time or I did.
I don't know. I'm just rambling at this point. I mean, that's what I always do for an hour every Sunday night when we talk about wrestling.
Well, there went that resolution out the door.
I do at least have more notes than I usually do.
He does. Who's your runner up, my friend?
So this was tough for me because I wanted to include the Doctor again in some fashion, but having passed Paige over or Saraya over with the comeback, because again, like you said earlier, it's amazing what she's done, what she's came back from. Literally, I should have picked her for a comeback, now that I'm saying that loud. But, I do want to recognize her in some fashion. So I bumped the Doctor from my, at least runner up just because she's the Dr. Britt Baker. I bumped her to put Saraya in there because, one match this year and a little rusty, a little bump. It's okay though. She has made a statement and done what only 2 male wrestlers have done before her, which is come back from career ending, retiring injuries that, you're never going to wrestle again. She did it, and, she at least in my list here, Saraya deserves a shout out as a female performer of the year for that.
Absolutely. One reason I called her out in that comeback category is that there had to be some acknowledgement tonight in my mind for what Saraya had done. It wasn't just getting back in the ring. It's what all took her to be able to get back in that ring. My female performer of the year, runner up, is probably the strongest booked female in all of professional wrestling, and that is Jade Cargill. There has been no female booked stronger over the last 2 years than Jade Cargill. She looks great on screen. She has this monster image. The undefeated streak she's basically right now the female Goldberg.
She totally the female Goldberg. And you are absolutely right. This girl looks the part. This I think is what Vince McMahon in his mind thinks the perfect female wrestler should look like. I mean, on screen or live, this girl has, I'm pretty sure, maybe like 0% body fat. I mean, she is a beast. She was green as grass when she first came along and has come so far since then. But
yep.
Good call. Absolutely.
Doug, who takes the top spot? And that, I mean, it is I said it earlier. It is the golden age of women's wrestling that we're in.
It really is, man. And this is a gal I was really not all that into. I thought her more of a Britt Baker lackey. Didn't quite get it until I got it. And maybe a lot of other people are in the same boat as me. Maybe I was a hater when I shouldn't have been. But I know, watch out, dad jokes, here they come. But I got to give it this year to AEW female champion Jamie Hayter, the top the top girl in the company. I get it now. I didn't for the longest time. Totally did not. I see it now. She's had the tail end of this year. She really is showing why she is in the position she's in. And I have to acknowledge that, even though she's not part of the bloodline, I do acknowledge her now.
So I actually think that if you go back in the archives and one goes back and looks at our AEW show where we did the whole episode on who we think should be cut, I'm pretty sure I mentioned Jamie Hayter because I don't get it. I'm not sure what. And I'm 100% in agreement with you, especially through her association with Britt and what they've done to plant the seeds for what we know is going to be a jealous beatdown at some point in time.
Right.
It's made me see her in a different light. And then I've watched her work in the ring in a different light. And it went from like me not seeing the personality to totally getting it. So kudos to your choice. That wasn't who I have picked, but I'm making my notes here. Hater for Doug. All right. Hater for Doug. This might be a controversial choice. So honestly, an argument could be made in my mind for Cargill being the female performer of the year based solely on the booking. But when I said earlier that she was the female Goldberg with that streak, unfortunately, once the bell rings, she could also have been the female Goldberg too. So if it goes more than 5 or 6 minutes, it starts the show a little bit
so
how
true.
green she is. But she is a
her name is Jade.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So much better than.
So I've gone for someone who currently is not employed. My pick for female performer of the year is Mandy Rose. I know I'm picking a recently fired superstar as my female performer of the year, but that's just because she was. Rose reinvented herself over the last 2 years. She began her whole career as the most charismatic contestant on her season of Tough Enough and didn't win it. And still was the only one to still be hanging around that had anything to do with that show. She showed that it factor on the main roster. And then for her troubles, ends up getting sent back to NXT, which she embraced. She dyed her hair. She changed her character. She got to work in the ring, actually became a really good in-ring performer and led what I think is honestly one of the best factions that WWE has, and that being Toxic Attraction for the last year. She established and fronted that group and took those women to the next level by her association. And then, she's the NXT Women's Champion for 413 days, the third longest ever, only to be fired the day after losing that title to Roxanne Perez, who, by the way, it should be noted, Rose helped make Perez in the process of doing all that. And I get it. The reasons for Rose being supposedly fired, it's not the old days when WWE had a contracts with Girls Gone Wild, or they like every year made sure that they worked with Playboy to get one of
Right.
the divas in their issues, which they would then like flaunt on the air to like promote the issues as well as the diva. I know that it's a different era. However, reports are suggesting that Rose wasn't even given a warning about her subscription content. It was just a, hey, you can't do that. We're letting you go. And I
Yeah.
think that Mandy, for all she had done, to go back, take a step backwards, reinvent herself, become such a good wrestler, get all these other women over, and then to just be fired without at least a
Yeah.
warning.
Yeah. Very unceremoniously, like, okay, we knew you were doing that, but we didn't know you were doing that. So we can't have that kind of
I,
thing. We
I
got to
mean,
get
I
that
know it
belt
didn't
off of
involve
you.
nudity or anything, but like Zelina was given a warning to like, hey,
Right.
you need to take down all, you can't be monetizing over that. We own all that.
Uh-huh.
The fact she didn't even get a warning makes me think she's in bad standing with someone, and it was a good excuse to get rid of her. But I mean, she ruled NXT for in the whole women's division and did a great job of it, and got women over in the process. She is my female performer of the year.
And I think
Tony, get on the phone, man, because I think that Tony can make hay. He doesn't have that ridiculous morality clause thing, and she can.
ridiculous.
Well,
Well,
it,
I'm not sure if Mandy needs wrestling now. I mean, $1 million in a month. I mean,
it
come
makes me
on.
think that I don't need you in this. Like, I mean, maybe
Right?
instead of if I'm in front of a camera, I should be doing something else. If it's $1 million a year
It,
or a
a
month, a
month.
month,
$1
yeah,
million, since she was released, in the month of December. I mean, come
and
on.
but good for her. I mean,
Absolutely. Good
absolutely good
for
for her.
her.
No,
Absolutely.
monetize. I mean, it's your listen, it is a cosmetic business. Whatever you want to say, the men and women are both out there and barely more than their underwear. It is a cosmetic business and
Yep.
always has been. If she wants to use the fact she's in great shape to make herself $1 million after she gets fired by WWE, nothing but. I mean, it's your life, it's your body, it's your image. Do what you want, in that regard. So
Right.
go Mandy Rose, right?
Sure. I do not disagree with that at all.
All right, Doug. Male performer of the year here.
Okay, here comes the heat.
Oh, the heat.
Here comes
Well,
the heat.
I was going to go first, but now
No,
you,
no, no.
you
You
made me.
you 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 go ahead. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you what. Let me do my runner up. Okay, let
Okay.
me do that.
Okay.
Let me do that.
So wait a minute. The heat is on your main choice. So I should
Oh,
let you do the runner up. I'll do a runner up and my top choice, and
and
then
then
I'll
I
turn it
and then
over to you to take the heat.
and then I'll bring some heat because I don't want to put this person in this position, but I got no choice.
Go for it.
Okay, so
Runner up.
runner up, I have to acknowledge the tribal chief because this man continues to have great, great years. I mean, again, I've said it multiple times throughout this broadcast. The bloodline for the longest time was the best thing about WWE. Now that Triple H has creative control, a lot of things are happening. There's a lot of good stories. There's just a lot of good stuff happening, but still the best thing happening is the bloodline. Uh, Even just like this past few weeks building up through with the Sami Zayn thing, there's such an amazing chemistry between he and Sammy, and like how he is this paranoid, like, just afraid of somebody else taking the bloodline from him. Reigns just consistently nails this character and has for years now. And there was a time when I did not like the Roman Reigns character. Now, Joe Anoy and Noah, I still can't get that name right, but I had
Joe.
no
Just Joe to his
Joe,
friends.
just Joe, no problem with that dude. Especially when he broke character years ago, to talk about his leukemia. And I'm like, okay, stop pushing this dude, let it happen organically, and it will happen. For it to happen organically, he needed to become a heel. And my goodness, what a great heel he is. Unbelievable to this day. I still want to see him just smash, at least with one of those belts that he has, smash those a Bruno San Martino level, reign. I don't know if it'll happen in the modern age because that's asking a lot. But what are we, 800 some days now at this point, going on 900?
Yeah, historic. We're getting into historic territory for sure.
Absolutely. But that's my runner up, Roman Reigns.
So my runner up, and I want to just really tear through this fast because I want to see what Doug's done. What have you done? Male Performer of the Year runner up, John Moxley. When in
Okay.
trouble, break glass, retrieve John
absolutely.
Moxley. Moxley saved AEW's TV product, and by my account, he saved it twice this year.
Yep.
And as well as bought them goodwill back from the fans following the whole CM Punk travesty. Between his time saving the company, he carried the ball after Punk's initial injury and went down and put on a very entertaining interim championship run. That arguably he shouldn't have even had that interim in his title. CM Punk was out so long, he probably should have just been named champion to begin with, because he felt like the champion. And then once again, apparently not just on screen, but behind the scenes in the locker room, he was a leader during the whole travesty of the Brawl Out and All Out.
Right.
To get things back on the rails. And oh yeah, by the way, when he wasn't doing all that, he was showing up at your local independent promotion, bleeding like a stuck pig.
Right.
For like 50 people just because he loves this stuff so darn much.
Yeah.
And for that, I think I've never disliked the guy, but I think I became a bigger John Moxley fan just for all the things he did this year, and want to acknowledge that as my runner-up. My performer of the year is my runner-up from last year, Doug's runner-up from this year. Now, 2 out of the last 3 years, he has been my all-around male performer of the year, Roman Reigns. What can you say other than we are squarely in the reign of Reigns? When you think about no one has yet to consistently challenge him as the best character in wrestling for 3 years. Last year, it took Kenny Omega having like Kenny Omega style matches and being Kenny Omega again to actually unseat Reigns from this position for me. That's how strong he has not just been in the ring, but that character, he has owned it. And like Doug, like most wrestling fans, there was a time I did not care for the character of Roman Reigns. Once he broke up with his brothers there, and there was no Dean and there was no Seth, it's just like on his own, Roman was just like a shrug for me. And then he was a go away for me when he was pushed down my throat as this babyface version of his cousin that he was never slated to be. Once he was cast correctly, he has done nothing but rule the professional wrestling world, and therefore is my male performer of the year. And now I sit back and watch Doug bury himself here.
I need a muffin for what I'm about to say, and maybe some water too.
I had a feeling this might be.
Look, man, I don't want to do this, but I can't not acknowledge what has happened and the eyes on the product and the discussions over and over again this man has caused since summer? I mean, CM Punk had an amazing, we had another summer of Punk. We for all the wrong reasons. The man has been off TV and away from wrestling now. It's not been 7 years this time. It's just been a few months. But everything, my phone's blowing up all of a sudden. I was gonna put that over there. Tony is not happy. Tony is not happy with me. Yeah, just let me put that face down. Okay. Hey, now, just hear me out, man. In-ring action, Punk is Punk. I think I don't know, maybe there's a little bit too much age on him now because he had a couple of injuries. He had to come back from, like you mentioned with Mox. Punk had to set out and heal. He comes back. He's a little wacky. We saw him live in Charleston when he cut that crazy promo. We didn't know what was going on at the time, but that was just the beginning of really the end. But that was months and months ago we're still talking about Punk. We're still going to be talking about Punk. Now, I'm not one of those crazy marks that thinks the entire thing was a work, that it's going to be a work shoot. I don't want to see Punk on AEW again. I'm happy with my memories of Punk from 7 years ago when he just took his ball and went home. I was super excited at the last dance when Punk comes back. There's those things about how you're not supposed to meet your heroes because you'll just be disappointed. I think you get too much of a peek behind the curtain in wrestling sometimes, and it can be just the same. Because I really think that the Punk we saw at that media scrum was what the real Phil Brooks is. He's going to speak his mind regardless, and he's always going to think he is right regardless of the situation. I don't like that. I'm not a Punk fan like I once was. I'm not a modern day Punk fan, but I cannot not acknowledge what he has done to wrestling and for wrestling, and really for AEW to put more eyes on it in the time he was there. And for that and that alone, for the star power that he brought to the company and this year, that's why I'm calling him my performer of the year for wrestling.
Well, clearly CM Punk has made another trip to Starbucks, and Doug has got one of the extra cards. Is all I'm thinking is happened here. That's the only way I can explain that. No, I see your point. Honestly, had it not been for the actions at All Out, like he was having some of the best matches that you would not expect a man of his age who'd been out for as long as he had. Heck, even at All Out, the match with Dean gets but
right.
I mean, yeah. Mox gets overlooked because of everything that came after. It was a great match.
It was.
He definitely definitely got people talking this year. It is a controversial choice, but kudos for you for being brave enough to make it. Let's talk about another last category before we do some bold predictions for 2023 at the end. But the last category, we save it for last because it tends to be the most contested and controversial of the year. Not now that Doug has done what he's gone and done. But match of the year, Doug, always a difficult one. Always one
very
that fans
difficult.
Want to know what is the match of the year? What should we go back and see? I can go first. You can go first with the runner up, but
let me put some space between me and Punk now, and let me do a runner up.
You go right ahead.
Let me do a little bit of a palate cleanse here for a runner up.
Watch them all be CM Punk matches, but go ahead. Larry versus John Moxley, right?
Wait, it was Larry versus Omega, wasn't it?
Oh, that's right. It was Larry Omega.
Allegedly.
5 stars for Meltzer.
Oh no, wait, it was the dude who allegedly bit.
That's true.
It was
but anyway,
not Ace Frehley. Oh yeah. Ace Frehley did not bite a Kenny Omega. That's not right.
That can't be right.
That can't be right. So, man, I had to go back and look this up because I'm not a fan of like the big dudes. I mean, they have their place. I don't like Omos, guys like the Omos and Braun, Strowman, not Breaker, when they, those things. But there are some big dudes who can really, really go. And I had to look this up to make sure I had it right. Clash at the Castle, we had Sheamus and Gunther. Gunther is Gunther. I mean, actually, I should say Gunther is Walter. Walter is an amazing, amazing big dude. He got in, he went from Walter to Gunther and got into some serious WWE shape by the time he was at Clash at the Castle to have this more of a fit, lean look. Still the ring general. You put the ring general in there with Sheamus, you got these two big, beefy dudes who just chopped and beat and It's a great match. It is a great match. If you missed it, that's when you go back and you'll watch again. Or actually, if you've seen it, you go back and watch it again. If you want to see big dudes go at it the way they're supposed to go at it, that's what I think big dudes should be doing. You don't need the flippy floppy stuff. I love that stuff, but you don't need it when you have just somebody just chopping and chopping and the bloody, nasty chest. And I mean, those guys put their bodies into it to deliver for us and entertain us. And I got to acknowledge that.
So I have to make an acknowledgement here before I even get into my runner-up. I'm actually going to do an honorable mention because I want to say the 2 out of 3 falls match between Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia that Doug and I were lucky enough to witness in person.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oftentimes I find it's the energy of a crowd that's going to make you think you've seen a better match than what you actually have.
Right.
But when I went back and watched it on TV, it held up.
Yep.
Truly one of the best matches I'd ever seen in person and one of the best matches of the year. Not in my top 2, but definitely something I want to acknowledge that we actually saw one of the better matches that you can point to from 2022. It was so fantastic. But my runner-up, Doug, it's funny. We're on the same page on this one. Gunther versus Sheamus, Clash of the Castle. Ireland versus Austria in front of a hot European crowd, which elevated even further. You have 2 of the most physical big men in wrestling just stiff each other for 20 minutes. And it was for the IC title, which we should point out because I also loved that. It brought back the days of when the IC title was considered the workers' belt. Yes. And these 2 worked hard.
Absolutely.
My runner-up as well. And we may be thinking the same thing about match of the year. Let's see.
I'm pretty sure we're going to be in lockstep about this.
May be.
If not, I may be kicking your door down in about half an hour.
Let's hear it.
So let's talk about them boys and the top guys, Kevin.
Which one? That's the only thing.
Okay, Double Dog Collar, the most recent one.
Double Dog Collar.
The most recent collar. Yes. I mean, to close out ROH, well, they didn't even close it out, but this ROH match to close out December for ROH. These dudes, my goodness, I'm not even sure if I have words to talk about what these 4 men went through. I mean, we talk about Gunther and Sheamus working stiff, putting their bodies on the line and working hard for, our pleasure, really, to entertain us. These dudes showed what it's all about. It's a shame that, the Briscoes cannot be on more or on any. I'm getting all choked up on any AEW TV because of ridiculousness that they've said and done in the past. Because to see them on TV more would have done more for this feud, but at the same time, it didn't need it. You put these 4 guys in the ring. My goodness. I mean, if you have not seen this is one of those things. Don't watch any other wrestling. Go watch that match because it is.
That's the idea of the match of the year, right?
Right.
Like, hey, if you only have time for one wrestling match.
One match.
And I'm in agreement. It would be this match. It's one of the year's last major contests, also ended up being the best. The 2 teams had already faced each other in 2 classics over the previous 13 calendar months, but they saved the best for last. It was violent, it was dramatic, and it elevated an entire product as ROH settles into its new phase.
Absolutely.
By putting over them boys as bringing them back as again, the classic ROH tag team champions that they are, and perhaps getting some eyes on them from, they've never left Ring of Honor. So if you're not a Ring of Honor fan or aren't familiar with the old indie product of Ring of Honor, maybe you don't know the greatness of the Briscoe brothers. Well, if you watch this to see what FDR can do with them, now who they are.
Yes, absolutely.
Match of the year. Absolutely in complete agreement with you on that. And Doug, I think that probably means that we had more choices in common this year than any of the 2 years prior.
I believe so. Yeah.
But after we give out awards and folks, if you won one tonight, it's in the mail to you. We promise. Doug wouldn't lie. You can trust the man in a tuxedo t-shirt. So, Doug, bold prediction for 2023, and I will say in advance that I don't think anything we can predict for 2023 will outdo what we've already seen actually happen in 2023. So thanks, Vince, for taking the air out of this balloon for all of those who've done notes on like, oh, well, we can't top that, but go ahead, let's try.
The only things I can see, a bold prediction, I always try and push Triple H to AEW or outside of WWE. I tried to do it last year with him saying he would walk away and start his own promotion. Let's say Triple H ends up in AEW because he and Stephanie are forced out prior to a sale by Vince.
So, when I went back and looked at our bold predictions for 2022, I mean, you predicted Triple H starts his own company. And if you think about his role in creative, it's not like you were that off.
That's what I argue. I'm close to being accurate on that one. It wasn't his own promotion, but he made a promotion his own. So I'm calling that a win.
I predicted that AEW and WWE would work together. And again, a half measure here. I mean, we did just see Kenny Omega and Dex, Harwood on the same show as one of the OC and Sasha Banks. So
and also FTR. We had FTR drop belts to a WWE contracted employee in AAA. So
I'm not completely, neither of us were completely wrong in our bold predictions. And honestly, considering what we've already seen happen, your prediction can't be that off the mark. I mean, it might very well happen. My bold prediction for 2023, not necessarily something I want to see happen. We didn't say that these predictions have to be positive things, but I'm predicting that Tony Khan pulls a Vince McMahon. Back with what he did with WCW, and he folds ROH. I think he's going to incorporate select talent just like Vince did. He's going to take the guys that he thinks will fit, that are most over, and he'll just adopt them into the AEW roster, and he'll utilize the Honor Club platform to launch an AEW streaming service, and he will end the Ring of Honor experiment. Do as Vince did, basically buy WCW for pennies on the dollar just to take its intellectual properties and its biggest stars. I think that maybe when we're looking at TV negotiations being as tough as they're going to be for both AEW and WWE now competing in that same marketplace for finite dollars, finding a separate deal for Ring of Honor down the road may not be what happens for Tony, and this might be just a necessary choice he makes. But that is my bold prediction for next year. Or this year.
I thought you were going to say, when you were saying a Vince McMahon WCW, I thought you were going to say that Tony's going to step up and buy WWE.
Hey, I had a friend, and if you're watching, Anthony, shout out to you, a wrestling fan who texts me and is like, I wouldn't be surprised if Tony buys it. I'm like, okay, I don't see it, but I'm afraid to bet against anything after what we've seen the last 2 years of professional wrestling.
I just wild speculation on my part here. There's no sale, and there's no impending sale. It was just leverage to bounce stock, so Vince could inflate his own ego, so he could say, "Look, I announced I'm coming back, and look, the stock numbers. Look at that, the stock numbers went up. You know what? I'm going to hold on to this for a little while longer. Trips, step aside. I'm coming back to creative, and by summer, if not before." If not by WrestleMania, we're back to the status quo. Either that, or the Crown Prince is going to own WWE by this time next year.
And by this time next week, Doug, we will be back on our regular schedule with regular programming, and that is 8:00 on Facebook or on demand on Facebook and YouTube thereafter. Thanks to Vince and what he's done, we've juggled our calendar. We'd originally planned to have a month worth of Royal Rumble content for you. Instead, next week, we are dedicating our entire show to just the topic we've been talking about throughout this show, and that's what's dominating the world of professional wrestling, what we're all talking about. But definitely tune in for that. We will have our Royal Rumble content in the latter part of this month, but we'll be back at 8. And in the meantime, thank you for joining us for our award show. What I'm going to do for those choices that Doug and I didn't actually agree on. If you're not following us on Facebook, in our Facebook community, you can do polls. I'm going to be doing a poll with our picks for male performer, female performer, tag team, all the things that we didn't agree on. And you tell us which of those two choices you like. And
like it.
If you don't disagree with us, let us know that as well. Leave all that stuff in the comments. And if you are watching just because it's an award show and you loved hearing about like best matches and best performers and things like that, hopefully you will tune in. Give us a like, a subscribe. We would very much appreciate it.
Thank you.
Folks, another year in the books.
Another one. And what a wacky year it was.
We look forward to 2023 with you here on the Two Bros Wrestling Show. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. See you next week.
See ya.